Rule 3. Minimum design standards and requirements for economic and socialized housing of BP 220. Section 4. Compliance with standards required. Development of economic and socialized housing projects shall be in accordance with the minimum design standards herein set forth. Section 5. Basis and objectives of the minimum design standards. The minimum design standards set forth herein are intended to provide minimum requirements within the generally accepted levels of safety, health, and ecological considerations. Variations, however, are also possible as may be based on some specific regional, cultural, and economic settings, e.g., building materials, space requirements, and usage. The parameters used in formulating these design standards are A. Protection and safety of life, limb, property, and general public welfare. B. Basic needs of human settlements, enumerated in descending order as follows: water, movement and circulation, storm drainage, solid and liquid waste disposal, power, park and playground. So those are the 6 basic needs. The provision of these basic needs shall be based on the actual setting within which the project site is located. C. Affordability levels of target market. D. Location. The actual setting of project site shall determine the type and degree of development to be required in a subdivision housing project regardless of political boundaries. With respect to this, the degree on level of development shall be defined as follows. 1. Underdeveloped area, characterized by the predominant absence of utility systems or networks, especially water supply, roads, and power. 2. Developed area, characterized by the predominant presence of utility systems or network, especially water supply, roads, and power. Section 6. Technical guidelines. In determining whether an economic and socialized housing shall be allowed, the following guidelines shall be considered. A. Suitability of site. 1. Physical suitability. A potential site must have characteristics assuring healthful, safe, and environmentally sound community life. It shall be stable enough to accommodate foundation load without excessive site works. Critical areas, e.g., areas subject to flooding, landslides, and street must be avoided. 2. Slope. Flat to rolling terrain, 0 to 5% are preferable, but housing development may take place up to 15% slopes, with flat lands below 5% for high-density development and sloping area 5 to 15% for low to medium-density development. The latter slopes, however, should be capable of being developed for habitation at reasonable cost with assurance of stability for vertical construction. 3. Availability of basic needs. The prioritized basic needs cited earlier shall preferably be available within reasonable distance from the project site. But where these are not available, the same shall be provided for by the developer. 4. Conformity with the zoning ordinance or land use plan of the city or municipality. Generally, housing projects should conform with the zoning ordinance of the city or municipality where they are located. However, where there is no zoning ordinance or land use plan, the dominant land use principle and site suitability factors cited herein shall be used in determining suitability of a project to a site. Furthermore, if the project is undoubtedly supportive of other land uses and activities, e.g., housing for industrial workers, then said project shall be allowed. B. Allowance for future development. Project design should consider not only the reduction of cost of development to a minimum, but also provision for possible future improvement or expansion, as in the prescription of lot sizes, rights of way of roads, open space, allocation of areas for common use and facilities. C. Land allocation. 1. Saleable and non-saleable are There shall be no fixed ratio between saleable portion and non-saleable portion of a subdivision project. 2. Area allocated for circulation system. The area allocated for the circulation system shall not be fixed as long as the prescribed dimension and requirements for access to both the project site and to dwelling units specified in these design standards are complied with. 3. Area allocated for community facilities. Sites for community facilities shall be reserved or allocated by the developer where such facilities may be constructed, put up the homeowners associations as the need arises. Said site shall be used exclusively for these facilities as defined in Rule 2, and the area shall be exclusive of that area intended for park and playground. The area allocated for community facilities shall vary with the density of the subdivision, i.e. the number of lots and/or living units, whichever is applicable as shown in Table 1. So Table 1, required area for community facility according to density. For the number of lots and/or living units per hectare, like 150 lots or living units and below, 1% of the gross area of subdivision is area for community facility. So if 151 to 225 lots or living units per hectare, then 1.5% of gross area of subdivision are areas for community facilities. Above 225 units, it's 2% of gross area of subdivision. Community facilities shall be centrally located where they can serve maximum members of population, preferably near or side by side the park or playground. 4. Area allocated for park and playground. Provision for park and playground is required in all cases. Allocation of areas for parks and playgrounds shall be exclusive of those allocated for community facilities and shall vary according to the density of lots and/or living units in the subdivision, whichever is applicable as shown in Table 2. So the Table 2 is the required area for park playground according to density. So similar with a while ago, 150 and below lots or living units per hectare, 3.5% of gross area of subdivision should be area for park and playground. For 151 to 225, 7% of gross area of subdivision should be an area for park and playground. Above 225 lots or living units per hectare, you need 9% of gross area of subdivision for park and playground. Location of park shall be based on hierarchy, accessibility, and shall be free from hazard, risks, barriers, etc. Landscaping, sodding, and tree planting shall be done by the subdivision developer owner. Minimum size for a pocket park is 100 square meter. D. Integration of project site with adjacent property and to the total development context of the city municipality. Land allocation and alignment of the various utilities, roads, drainage, power, and water of the subdivision should align and be integrated with those of existing network as well as projects outside the boundaries of the project site, e.g. access roads, road connecting project site to the nearest public road should follow the standard specification of the MPWH. Hierarchy of roads with respect to function and dimension shall be observed when planning the road network within the project site such that no major or minor road aligned with an alley or footpath. So before I go to section 7, let me just zoom out a bit to remember the context of what we just read. So again, we are discussing Rule 3 of BP 220. Under Rule 3, there's Section 4 and then Section 5, which is already the basis of minimum design standards. So Section 5, there's A, B, C, D. And then now we're in Section 6 for the technical guideline. So Section 5 is more of parameters or basis how we came up with the minimum design standard. Section 6 now is what is allowed in terms of technicality. So we read A, about the suitability of the site, B, allowance for future development, C, land allocation, and then we were going to on the next, oh, we also read D, which is the um, integration of project site to adjacent property. And then we're going to discuss the section 7. So after technical standard is the design standard and planning consideration.